When your supervisor is having a bad day, you can have a bad day. How does that happen? It happens when we don't use our emotional intelligence to lead up. In the dialogue above, you see two different employees, one that does not have EQ training, the other is a dialogue from a conversation I had in coaching someone who's been in my leadership program for about 8 months now. And this conversation demonstrates EQ in the real world. So I trained the person, employee number 2, on the EQ process from the handout that you see attached here. And real life doesn't look like step 1, 2, and 3. And the good news is that once you practice the skills often enough, they get inside of you and you begin to use them automatically, even unconsciously. Because in this conversation, the person I was coaching, employee number 2, didn't even realize how she had used her emotional intelligence skills because it didn't look like the worksheet. So here's how that happened. First, she read the email and identified her own emotional response. Like, my boss seems irritated and on fire, and it doesn't feel good to me. I mean, you don't have to name it exactly. It's like, wow, something doesn't feel good. It could have been, I feel scared. It could have been, I feel angry. It could have been any number of responses, but to pay attention to it and say, what do I want to do with this? Employee number 1, without EQ training, ignores it. There will be a different story happening for that person because it will come out somewhere later because those things don't just disappear. EQ person number 2, learning that she can apply this, says, what's going on for me and how do I bring it into the relationship? Because another aspect of emotional intelligence is other awareness. So are we aware of what's happening for them? What are they feeling and what do they need? We can't read minds, so the most healthiest and often the hardest thing to do is to go to that person. So she called her boss up and said, hey, just checking in. Oh yeah, why are you checking in on me? He's kind of still a little gruff, a little irritated. She can tell that same tone is there that was in the email. And so the question to ask is very obvious, and yet most of us never say something like this. I am calling to check in on you because your email seemed kind of fiery. The supervisor's kind of taken aback, like, oh, well, he didn't know it was coming through. He didn't know that would be that obvious, that there was some fire, some emotion, negative emotion. And so he said, I'm just really busy. Okay, so just really busy. The employee number 2 says, hey, that's good. Is there anything that I can do? That is skill number 3 on our sheet, where it says we offer a relational need. We offer to meet the need, because people don't have emotions and reactions out of nowhere. They come from somewhere. They come from a need, a healthy need, when you get down to the core issue. But he said, no, I don't need anything from you. Great. So we're good? She checked in? Yeah, we're good. So she can hang up the phone and her productivity level can return because she's no longer having a part of her brain being taken up with, what is my boss thinking? What did I do wrong? I'm worried, I'm concerned. How do I manage all that's going on? See, that takes such emotional energy and a drain from us. But when we can address it in a clean and direct way, it restores our productivity. So here is EQ in the real life. It's also about managing up using your emotional intelligence. And it just resolves a number of problems for you. Thanks for listening, and I hope to connect with you sometime soon. For more information, visit julianawilhelm.com